All right, everybody, welcome back to the Be Different podcast. I'm your host in this, Brad Redford, today. I'm surrounded by UC guys everywhere. I'm a little bit afraid what might happen during this conversation, but lacing up with Leonard. Leonard brought some special guests, and I'll let you do the intros on these guys.
Oh man, where do I start? Man? We got two separate generations, two Bearcats, two different coaches. We got Corie Blount. Corie, legendary, NBA for a long while there, and then we got Kevin Johnson, young fella, fresh out, trying to find his way.
We got almost like 30 years of UC basketball and UC experience. Guys that are from here, guys that are from West Coast, East Coast, Midwest. I mean, we have everything. So I'm excited about this.
What school did you go to?
Well, high school, I did go to Frankenmuth High School in Michigan, but then in college, I played at a school called Xavier University in Cincinnati as well.
I was just wondering because during the introduction, I heard UC guys instead of UC legends, so I kind of figured it was a little biased.
I was allowing Leonard to do the UC legend intro. Yeah, Corie, trust me, I did not mean to slight you by any means at all.
My man Kevin too, man.
Anybody that comes out to Be Different podcast is family. So I consider everybody at both tables right now complete family at this point, Leonard. Is that okay?
No, 100%.
We can take that.
I want to touch just briefly on UC this year. They dropped a couple games early. One last night against Mississippi State. Just initial thoughts on these guys. Anyone you enjoy watching, and kind of just outlook on the team for what you think they can accomplish moving forward.
Well, for me, I like the team. I like Kane Broome. I think that could be that dynamic player that can really kind of put the team on his shoulders along with everybody else, of course. But I think he's the key. I think if he's able to play his game and have a little freedom while he's out there, I think he'll be able to generate enough momentum and get other guys involved. And plus his ability to score and create the flow of a game, I think is very important for what this team needs.
The point guard situation for me watching UC play has been a little bit challenging because I think when you watch Kane and Jennifer play, and if you're a basketball guy, I think there is an understanding that Kane is a much more talented offensive player and gives this team a lot of upside. Yeah. But it seems like when he has games with turnovers and he doesn't start or he doesn't play as much, but he played great in that Xavier game and he was fantastic. And then he was great in the game against Florida. I mean, he's a guy that can score against top-level defenses. What's it going to take for him to play 28, 27 minutes a game and allow him to just play?
Well, as a player, I know how difficult it is to not be able to play through your mistakes. I mean, the more experience you get from making mistakes, it helps you along the way during the game. And when you're getting yanked and pulled for making minor mistakes, it kind of messes with your psyche a little bit out there, so it makes you a little cautious. And I think with his ability and his talent, man, some players you just got to, rely on their skills to get you through a point of a game. And I think he could do that along with the team. I think as far as individual talent, we're loaded. I think we have individual talent far beyond what a lot of people think, but I think the gelling and the chemistry with all of them is going to be important, and it's going to take one player to kind of create that momentum for them.
And Kevin, you're recently left, so you know a handful of these guys. You got to practice with them. You understand the coaching staff. You understand the talent that these guys have. And I think anyone that knows the college game and has seen these guys play understands that UC has a talented group. Where are they at right now, and where are they going?
Oh, they're very talented. I'm glad to see Jacob Evans getting going. That's a big-time player, in my opinion. The guy actually got NBA potential on that team. So it's good to get him in his spots. I seen that yesterday in Xavier game, getting him in that mid-range area, letting him go to work. Also, I do like the combination of the point guards. I do like to see them on the floor at the same time. Justin is a heck of a passer. Kane is a better scorer. So I think that dynamic duo together actually could work and be very, very fast on that court, because when they playing up tempo, I think is the best way they play. I was actually proud of Cal yesterday for getting going as well. Down the stretch, that'll be big. Him and Gary Clark will always come through in big games as well. So the team has tons of potential. They just bumped their head. Had to see a couple good teams. We had to see that team across the road. They had a better day that day, and Florida played a tough game. That happens. Good game, and just keep going. I think they'll keep pushing forward, keep getting better, keep learning each other. You know, it's a long process, a long season, and you got to learn who those go-to guys are and get them in the spots. But like Corie was saying, got to learn how to play through mistakes. I think that's the biggest thing. Once they get going early and get in the early rhythm, that's when we have the best games. And, you know, I know it's harder, easier said than done to play through some mistakes. Definitely dealing with Cincinnati because I was a part. So, but they'll be fine. I think it's a great season ahead of us for sure.
Plenty of time left, and they've hit a little bit adversity early. They had high expectations early. A few people are down on them now. They're still in the top 25. They still have the talent of a top 20 team. Mm-hmm. I think one issue for me is I thought their depth was going to be a big bonus for them, and I think they've struggled a little bit. Trey Scott, Nasir Brooks was a guy prior to the season starting the coaches were extremely high on. They felt like he had made some big strides, and the freshmen haven't played as much as maybe what we thought. Leonard, do you see the bench guys giving them more as they move throughout the season?
Yeah, I think it's the same thing on what kind of Corie stated earlier, just kind of playing through mistakes, and I think the younger you are, the shorter your leash is. And we're seeing that with Nas and Trey. But I think they got to come in and spell and give good minutes. You know, there's been a little bit of struggle with those two, but I think the more they can give us, I think the better we are and the deeper we can go.
And they have a big game coming up, UCLA on Saturday. That will be a nationally televised game. And that's an important one, I think, for Cincinnati to go in and nail that game down and show everybody else around the country. Listen, we lost a couple tough games early. We lost one on the road. We lost a tough one to Florida. That was a tight game. And if they hadn't dropped a couple free throws in that game or had scored in that last minute and 30 seconds, they probably would have won that game. UCLA will be a challenge for them. And then moving forward from that, they'll pretty much have the Americans starting up here pretty soon. But life still looks good, I think, for UC. They got plenty of guys. They're going to end up either winning their conference. It's going to be down between them and Wichita State. So their confidence, I believe, will go back up. That depth is going to continue to improve. And I think Kane Broome and Jennifer will figure out, Kevin, and to your point, how to play together instead of maybe at the beginning where it's a little bit of a battle between the two of them.
Definitely.
So, Corie, let's start with you. I just want to get updated on kind of where you're at right now, where are you living, and what's going on in your life.
Well, right now home is still Liberty Township. I'm up off of 75. I've been there since about 2001, never really left the city. Always had a place in Cincinnati, even when I left to go play professional ball. So this has been home for me for about 25 years. Right now I started an apparel company / a motivational company, and the apparel was based off of a concept that I came up with. I was the first one in my family to ever attend a four-year school or graduate from a four-year school. So when I accomplished that dream of graduating, and I say it was a dream because no one in my family talked about education, especially at the higher level. And when I did it, I was just so proud of that, where I kind of wore my cap and gown for like 3 days straight in my community. And I was just so proud of it. So I ended up just wondering, like, man, nobody's pushing graduation through a brand. And I set out on that mission, and lo and behold, I've been president and CEO of Graduate Apparel for the last 7 years now, and just been doing things in the community. It's not just a brand of clothing, but we also do things in the community. I work with numerous schools here in Cincinnati and numerous nonprofit organizations, just pushing education and graduation.
What's the best way for someone to get a hold of you that is interested, whether to contact you or at least kind of look up more about the company?
Man, if you Google GRADU, the number 8, so it's GRADU with the 8 behind it, so graduate, and you'll find all the information you think you ever want to know about my company, because I've been at this for 8 years, and I've made sure all my Google spots are solidified.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, we're trying to get there. I'm working with Nick Given, Greg Wichert, and we're trying to handle that with the Be Different podcast. But that's awesome stuff, and I know how important it was to go back and get that degree. I read a few articles on you, and I know you went back from UC after you were playing in the NBA to get that degree. So congratulations on that, and obviously best of luck with everything in that regard.
Thank you.
And then, Kevin, what's going on with you? We were talking briefly. I know you spent some time playing professionally. Where are you going from here?
So I graduated and had a long, crazy summer with pre-draft stuff. Ended up with Canton Charge, which was the Cav G League team. Did summer league there. Not summer league. Training camp there. Played a couple scrimmages there. Got waived. Now I'm back here and got a couple job offers overseas that I'll be taking here in a couple weeks. So just that next forward step in life and figuring out exactly what I want to do.
It's a lot of change, isn't it? It's
It
a lot
is,
of
man.
change because you're a Cincinnati guy.
Yeah.
Won state championships here, went to UC, had a successful career, and now you're bouncing around a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, how was that being away from Cincinnati? I know Canton's not extremely far, but that's a solid 3-4 hour trip. I mean, that was probably a little different for you.
Yeah, it was definitely different, but I enjoyed my time. I actually had a OG up there with me named Kendrick Perkins, so he was on the team, just giving a lot of knowledge, having a lot of fun. So it was a great experience. Like I said, it was a great experience. Enjoyed it and continue to moving forward and learning exactly what I want to do in life. It changes. Life changed so much, man, and I'm starting to learn it as I move forward through my journey.
I've talked to a handful of guys that played in the G League. A friend of mine, John Horford, who played at Michigan and Florida, he played with the Canton Charge last year.
Okay.
So from talking to them, and I also know that the coaches fairly well with the Charge.
Yeah.
I know that's a grind, and the talent level is really good.
Yes.
Can you just give some insight on what it was like your first 6 months in the G League?
Man, it was fun. I was out there with made really good relationships with a guy played at Virginia, London Perez. He's actually a two-way player there. Just fun. It's a grind. It's not as bad as college. Pro is definitely different. One thing I enjoyed, our practice was about an hour and 15 minutes. So that was real fun.
Man, practices in college are just 3-hour grinders
Man,
every
it's a
single
serious
day.
grind.
You know what's crazy is going visiting like UC's practices, and I look, and Damar DJ's in there, and I say, man, can you believe we really
Used to do that.
used to do this 3 hours a day every day?
Man, yeah. I got some stories about that myself. Yeah.
Well, Corie, you were in the heyday of Bob Huggins, like the mean.
Uh-huh.
I mean, we got the, as you guys say, we got the softer Bob Huggins, which
Yeah.
I didn't think was possible. Give us some, give us a couple stories, man, about that, man. That was a young Bob Huggins.
Yeah, I need to know if this program is rated PG or rated R first before I even.
No, just so you know, there is some. We can always do some editing on this, no problem.
Oh, so you guys
we-
got the beep control in there?
Yeah, we got the beep control, but
Okay.
also, I mean, this is our program, so I
Okay.
mean, we're not filtered, by anybody.
doubt.
So you can, this is an open forum here at the Be Different
No
podcast.
doubt, no doubt. Well, for me, it was strictly a culture shock coming from where I came from because, not to brag on myself, but I was the National Junior College Player of the Year, had won 2 championships back to back. So, and my coach was mild-mannered. My junior college coach was mild-mannered. So for me, when I, really didn't feel like doing extra sprints or anything, I go to coach like, man, I ain't really, okay, big guy, you just sit out for a minute. The rest of you guys on the line, that's how I had it in California. So I get here to Cincinnati, and guys were warning me about this. I'm like, well, man, whatever, I'm here to play basketball. So I ended up experiencing it in a different way because once we got here, I never forget, some guys were in the gym and some guys weren't, and Hugs was out of town, and Herb was playing over at Xavier. He was over there a lot playing, and we really didn't all know each other at that time. So Herb's over there playing, and we're all saying, well, our All-American don't even come play with us because we're playing at UC. Well, lo and behold, we didn't know that Herb was playing all the time over there, and people knew that except for us. So when we found out he wasn't playing, we're thinking he wasn't playing. So Hugs come back, and he calls us he takes us downstairs in the locker room, in the racquetball room, and he lines us all up, and he comes in, and he just goes off. Just F-bombing everybody. And I'm like, man, the season ain't even started yet. This is what I'm prepared for the whole season. So we end up going through that season, and I'm really getting a full blast of, I thought my name was You Ain't Shit. That's all I heard. You soft piece of California. Don't you ever go get any more of these soft prima donnas. And I was like, I didn't even know what a prima donna was. I never heard that word before. So I'm like, man, you call me Madonna one more time, man, it's going to be some problems in here. So it took me a while to get used to that kind of coaching.
Oh,
and
man.
the thing that really blew me away, because I like telling this story, we practiced for like 3.5 hours Christmas Eve. This is the time when the campus is empty.
No
we would
rules.
stay over there at the
Vernon
Manor Hotel. So we were the only thing in this whole area, it seemed like it, on campus. So we're practicing, and we're having a bad practice. So we're all knowing that. And I'm telling myself, well, man, at least it's Christmas tomorrow. We ain't got to worry about this stuff. So he brings us in, and he's going off, and he ends practice with, I hope you guys have a miserable fucking Christmas. And I looked around at everybody like, wait a minute, man. I mean, I done heard a lot of things before, but for somebody to say Christmas, like, that just blew me away, man. But that was classic Hugs. But he had the ability to, after he said that, you know, we're at his house for Christmas Eve and having dinner. So, you know, it was just his style and his form of coaching. And it took me a while to get used to the method behind his madness. But once you bought in, man, it was a sweet journey. And we all love him to death. I mean, I haven't had one player that played for him say anything except the experience that we had. But everything else, man, we love the guy to death. We'll strap him up and die for him.
So did anybody ever go at him, like in practice and was it like a constant banter back and forth? Or did you just let him go and then?
I mean, I don't know how it was for Lenny, but for us, he take it. You know, you could give it to him.
Yeah, it was just, you better be right, though. You better be right.
Yeah.
He'll tell you that. He said, it would say, you could give it back to me, but you better be right.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you the one thing he says, the film don't lie.
Yeah. Yeah, it was open dialogue, man. We had an open line of communication, at least my early years there.
Yeah, because I mean, when you're a player, I mean, at that level too, it's like there's some coaches that when they yell at you, you just completely shut down and they lose your team. And then there's other guys where they can come in, they can say whatever they want, they can cuss at you, they can come at you, and then you're still hugging them after practice or during the game. So, I mean, I appreciate that.
But it wasn't personal, though. Like with him, it was, I mean, everybody – he was equal opportunist. Everybody got yelled at. Like, it wasn't like he's just picking on certain guys. I mean, my freshman year, Kenya's National Player of the Year, and Kenya was late for an event, and we got to practice, and he said, okay, everybody stretch. Kenyon up on the stairs. And we all looked at each other like, he's making him run? Kenya had to run the stadium stairs. And I said, man, so when you see that, you gain another level of respect because it's like, it's no bias. And then, you know, like Corie was saying, you know, he would yell, but, you know, you had the ability to yell back, and he didn't take it personal like you're challenging his authority. He just wanted to bring the best out of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So do you guys still keep in touch with Coach Huggins somewhat regularly? I see you got the West Virginia jumpsuit on right there with the jump.
Man, I get more gear from him than I get from my alma mater, man. It just comes in boxes like that. So of course I'm gonna wear it every now and then, but. Yeah,
he's got a lot of swag to him too.
Yeah.
Because we never played West Virginia during the season, but we would go down there and we would play them and we'd scrimmage. And Hugs would always come down there. He'd be strutting, hair would look clean. He'd have some Jordans on and a nice Jordan jump. I mean, he's funny, man. And he would come down. He didn't know any of us, and he'd come down and you know, shake all of our hands and joke and laugh with us. And
no doubt.
Kind of like I always appreciate a coach that has a high IQ for the game, can coach, but also has a high swag level. Because it's always important to have a coach that has that type of confidence.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, it makes it a lot easier for, I think, the players to respect them.
Yeah.
And then let's move to the NBA with you, Corie. You played 11 seasons.
Yep.
Played with some of the most impressive players of all time. I mean, Michael Jordan, Steve Kerr, Pippen, Kukoc, Kobe.
Steve Kerr. Go ahead.
Well, he's a legend in the game still.
Okay.
Coaching.
Okay.
He's still very involved in the game.
Okay.
Plus, you have to know I have a connection with Steve Kerr because he's a small white guy that can fill it up. So I mean, there's a connection with me and Steve Kerr that I had to throw him out there.
Hey, well, that's
Plus,
your guy.
I got to throw him out there.
For him, man.
I just put Michael Jordan and Steve Kerr within three names.
Yeah, you said Michael Jordan. Usually it go Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen. You said Michael Jordan, Steve Kerr.
Then we're Kobe. Then we're Kobe after that.
And Kobe and Shaq.
Well, I'm going down my list. I got a list right here. That's a problem. I got my list, and I'm just like looking at random deals right here. Dennis Rodman. You played with Rodman.
Yeah.
Jason Kidd.
Yeah.
Gilbert Arenas.
Yeah.
Allen Iverson.
Yeah.
Vince Carter.
Yeah.
Jay Williams.
Yeah.
Dikembe Mutombo.
Yeah.
Jason Richardson from Saginaw, Michigan. I watched him play in high school.
Yep.
I mean, this list is insane. Shaq.
Yep. Kobe.
Rick Fox, actor and player.
Yep.
Penny Hardaway.
Yeah.
You got a good.
I mean, this is insane. I mean, this list is insane.
Yeah.
It's an insane list, man.
Corie, you got a good Kobe story for us?
Man, I got a good Kobe story. But first of all, I always like to add this because everybody say, man, you play with all those great guys, and I got to say this, man, them guys play with me too. I mean, I just wasn't some guy that just happened to walk into a bar and everybody was sitting there. I did, make it to that level also.
You held your own.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my story about Kobe, man. I was blessed to be one of the first guys to welcome him to the Lakers. Jerry West had called me up to his office and said that the young guy was coming and he wanted me to kind of walk him through the offense because we were in the summer league at this time. And so I met him, and we were just talking, and we were in the gym, and we were getting ready for our first summer league game. Now, I didn't really know too much about him, to be honest. I've heard, of course, I heard he was talented, but I never saw him play or anything like that. So we're going through practice and everything, and he's dunking the ball, which, everybody could do that at that level, and he was just really excited to be there. So we ended up having our first summer league game, and I'll never forget it because he had 36 points that first summer. No, I'm sorry, this was the third summer league game because we had played 2 games before he got there. And so he played the first summer league game, and the gym had got a crowd of, usually it was about 4,000 or 5,000 people at the summer league. Mm-hmm. When he decided to come, it was about 7,000 or 8,000 people there. So he brought a little more excitement to our team. And so the first summer league game, he had 36 points. And I'm just like, man, this kid is special. I'm telling myself, man, this kid is special. Just the way he attacked the basket, the way, he dominated the ball and everything. So I'm calling on my boy the next game. I'm like, man, y'all got to come see this dude play. I said, man, I think I just seen the next Michael Jordan. And just saying that, early on, that, man, this dude got talent. Well, to make a long story short, he averaged 36 of the rest of the summer league. And he ended up being that dynamic player, man. Me and Kobe would come in the gym and just work on his game. And the thing about him, he would work with the guards, and then he would want to come down there and work with the bigs, working on his post game. And this is his rookie year. Yeah. So we always would tell him, throw him down here, throw the fish down here. We need something to eat right now. And he'd come down there and try to play defense and work on his offensive game. So he had that rare dynamic that he was really trying to define his game to be an overall great player coming in at 18.
Damn, he was my favorite player growing up.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's mine.
Yeah, your favorite player too.
Player.
I mean, he was just so fun to watch, and he did it every night. And even the games when he'd go 3 for 20 or 4 for 21. I mean, the heart and the passion that he always played with is something that I think anyone that likes basketball appreciated.
Yeah.
What about outside of playing? Was he a reasonable guy to talk to? You go back and forth from what you hear from other people.
I always say, man, when my 4 years of being a Laker and being involved with Kobe, man, we were cool. I still call him my rook to this day whenever we see each other. Matter of fact, when they were his last home game, I was out there, and when I walked in the gym, I was like, Rook. He was like, C. Blount, So we still had that camaraderie from way back in the day, and plus playing against each other all the time. So it was always that with him, just a phenomenal kid. I always used to tell him, like, man, I give you props because there's no way at 18 I would have been able to handle this like this. Yeah. In L.A., I'd have been trying to reach the stars myself. The way you're able to focus on basketball is a great thing.
What about the culture of the organizations? Was there one that you appreciated being at more than the rest? I mean, Chicago, L.A., Cleveland. I mean, you were at a handful of different places. Was there one that you appreciate more and feel you're more a part of?
I hate to try to answer that question because I liked all of them because they all were cutting checks at that time. Yeah. So it really wasn't about really which one kind of had the best place to play. But I'm from L.A., so it was always great to go back home as a Laker fan and play for the Lakers, of course. But, along my NBA journey, man, I had a good time at all places. Cleveland was probably a little slow back then out of everywhere I went, but, all the teams were pretty phenomenal for me.
A lot of snow in Cleveland, too, coming from L.A.
Oh, man, that was a culture shock.
How you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, I was used to it when I came to Cincinnati to hoop, but, of course, I went to Chicago straight out of Cincinnati, so I was kind of used to the weather. But going home and then coming back, it was like, oh, here we go again. So I had to get used to that again.
Well, do you watch it much now? Any thoughts on Lonzo and the direction that the Lakers are going right now?
Yeah, I mean, to me, when you got a player like Lonzo, man, you just got to – it's kind of like what Kevin was saying, man. You got to let that kid play through his mistakes and fans, we want the best as soon as we see a player based off their potential. But as an organization, you have to understand that this kid he is special. So we're going to have to develop and let his talent nurture at this level. A prime example to me is what they did with the kid from Philly,
Ben Simmons.
Ben Simmons, he got hurt, but because he got hurt, that allowed him to get used to this NBA kind of style of play, and it helped him develop. So he's coming out having a phenomenal year this year. I think the more Alonzo plays with his talent and his skill set, he'll be all right in a couple years.
Yeah. I mean, you played against
we played against each other last year. Yeah, in the tournament. I think he's a solid player, honestly. For that position and his height, his vision is incredible. I think the scoring will come along with it. It's just him getting comfortable. Sometimes you got to get out there, get comfortable, the speed, the players, the system. And then once he get that under his belt, I think he'll be fine. I see him getting better every game now. So I give him towards the end of this year, he'll start making a little bit more noise as far as scoring because, honestly, in every other category, he seemed to be doing pretty well. I read this morning he was leading all point guards in blocks with like 24 blocks on the season. So, it'll be fine. If his dad be quiet, let him relax for a second.
Man, I love his dad, man.
See, I'm the biggest LeVar Ball fan ever. So Greg and Nick, because we shoot it every week, we talk about LeVar, and I'm the biggest LeVar Ball fan out there.
Right.
I've said a lot about LeVar Ball in the past, so I'd love to hear another supporter of the man that is LeVar Ball.
Man, my thing is, I wish I would have had a dad like that, to be honest, to push me and promote me the way he is.
I was about to say, put him on my marketing team.
Yeah, man. I mean,
yesterday, he was courtside yesterday when he played the Knicks.
Yeah.
Him and Spike Lee.
Yeah.
With a big baller brand shirt on and some jogging pants.
Yeah. His whole philosophy about the marketing aspect, bringing his own brand to his son and to the team that kind of separates him from everyone, I think is genius, man. And the way he's doing it might be overbearing at times. But in this time and age, I think overbearing is what people want to see more than just a quiet. His son is quiet and mild, and I think he's getting darts thrown at him because of that. And his dad is loud and obnoxious, and he's getting publicity and talk shows and all kind of stuff. So they're doing a great job. But I got a question for Kevin, because you guys, they're getting ready to go play UCLA. And I know you're gone, but say you're in that locker room this year. Now you get a chance to go back and play the same team that sent you home last year. What is your philosophy, your mindset going into this game?
The Bearcat way. I mean, payback. This is what you want, and not even that. Just it's not even a payback thing. It's like I say, like Coach Cronin always used to say, it's more about us anyway.
Yep.
And they got a chip on their shoulder. They got something they need to prove anyway, with a couple losses to get back, where they want to be. So this will give them a great chance. Plus, like you said, they knocked us out last year. Great chance to just come in, defeat what they play on, I think, in LA. Great place to be, great weather. So it's set up for them to do great things, And if they go in focused and do what they're supposed to do, I feel like they'll come out successful.
How is Coach Cronin after a couple losses? He dropped 2 out of the last 3. What is he like on a day-to-day basis and preparing, getting ready for games right now?
That's a place you don't want to be. This is a place you don't want to be.
I probably didn't need to answer that because I probably already knew the answer. I just wanted to hear it because when I asked you the question, I could see you like look in the back of your mind and you were seeing a million different pictures. You were seeing like videos and highlights in your head.
Last year was a blessing. We had a pretty good season at 30-6, so I don't think we actually lost last year twice in a row, which was one of our goals. So. It was a lot calmer last year, but I've experienced some years where, whew.
Well, last year that was your best year as a senior, and you had you improved tremendously. I thought every single year, and I go to a handful of UC games every year. Thankfully, one of my buddies has season tickets, so I'm there all the time. So I saw a bunch of your home games. I was sitting right there, and I thought every game that you always brought it. As a senior, I think that's important. I mean, the seniors that are there now, I mean, who do you think needs to take an extra step? And maybe it's not actually like playing and making plays, but just being more vocal. Because my thought are always, the coaches, they can keep talking. They can give us whatever they want. But at the end of the day, when you have a player-led team and you have a senior that's pushing you, I mean, that's what I think can take you guys to another level.
Yeah, I think that falls this year on Gary Clark more than anybody. He's the 4-year guy that Cronin had through that program. I mean, Kyle Washington's also a senior, but, it's his second year under Cronin. I think Gary Clark know the ropes. He know what it takes, and he know what type of players he got around him. and maybe not the most vocal guy, but he does it in his way. Everybody lead in their own specific way, and I think Gary Clark will do a great job, man. He's a great guy, a phenomenal player. It's just getting the guys together and keep moving forward. Like I said, it's a long season, and they still learning each other. So, yeah, it'll be fun to see in the next month or two, how everything shape out.
Yeah, Gary's got that high respect factor. A senior, I think that was similar to Holloway, who I played with at Xavier, didn't say a ton, but whenever two talked, everybody was locked in and listening. So I think for Gary, even though he's not the most vocal guy, important that he picks his spots properly. And because I know when Gary says something, his respect factor in that locker room, that goes a long, long way.
Definitely.
Leonard, who on your team was that spark senior year? Was that you? I mean, it had to have been you, right? I mean, you were the guy to roll in.
Yeah, we were. I mean, even sophomore year, because Kenyon's senior year was my freshman year, so you kind of watch him and his leadership, and then Corie, all these guys will come back over the summer. So you had Corie, you had Ruben, Pete, Michael, everybody, Fletcher, all those guys will come back and we play pickup against each other, in the summer times. But you kind of watch the tradition of leadership under Coach Huggs, and you will watch the guy that was next to you. So, I was a captain for my sophomore year through my senior year. So, I was vocal. I got a lot more vocal probably my junior year. But you kind of learn from the person in front of you. But it was definitely, my senior year was definitely me. And I had a young team then. Eric Hicks was a freshman. Max Seal was a sophomore. All of those guys were young, so.
A lot of talent has come through, and you guys were a big piece of that. Where does the camaraderie from? Because, you guys are all, friends, but you come from different eras. How did you guys kind of get connected? And I will say on the UC side, I feel like there is like an appreciation for all the guys that have come through there, and you guys all seem like a pretty tight-knit group. I think it's awesome to have, 91, 92, you played late 90s, early 2000s, and then Kevin just finishing up. I think it's pretty awesome to see that. So can you just maybe talk about how you guys know each other and maybe the importance of kind of keeping that UC tradition alive as well?
These guys, like I said, they will come back in the summers and literally wear us out. We would play pickup, and it's like, hey, we get our 5, and then, some of the older guys will have their teams, and we would just play. But they would trash talk, but after it's family, and I think that's the atmosphere that Huggs created. We all knew who the older guys were. You watch Corie play in the NBA for years. you watch Ruben, you watch Nick Van Exel, you watch all these guys, but then they come back, and then when they come back, it's like, hey, these guys are actually cool. Like they give you advice. They life lessons. They tell you like, hey, you ain't the first person to go through this, because in the moment you're thinking like, man, this dude is yelling at me every day, man. This guy's crazy, but they tell you, hey, this was our journey also, and it's just a family atmosphere, man. Literally that's what coaches created over there. So it's good, man. I love it. We're all family. Whenever I'm in LA, I call Kenyon. I stay at his place. We go to dinner. DeMar's back now with him literally every day. Kenny Satterfield. Everyone talks, and once we're all in the same setting, it's just jokes upon jokes, because you laugh about the time that you had with Huggs, and you laugh about your moments that you had. And it's just a family atmosphere.
Even from my standpoint, because I didn't play for Huggs, so it's like two different eras. And what's crazy is that a lot of the older guys that I see come back was from a Huggins era, which is dope in my opinion, because then you see a whole different side of what Cincinnati basketball was in their eyes, which is all the same thing. We all got the same, end perspective of Cincinnati basketball as far as success and winning and toughness. But at the same time, they have their own stories, and I really have my own stories as far as my coach and my players and my teammates. And what's funny is, like, a lot of my older guys that I consider old for me, like when I was a freshman, like SK, Justin Jackson, I don't see much often, which, it's a good and a bad thing. But I think if they was to come back, come to practice, like you say, guys coming in over the summer, playing pickup, that generates the energy for Cincinnati basketball each year to continue to get good players and continue to grow and put guys in the NBA, put guys in pro level basketball. And in my opinion, that's what it's missing a little bit sometimes, you know. And I was proud that, like, last year, a lot of the guys from the 92 team came back, spoke to us. Like, people don't understand how far they go. And that was a blessing for, like, me and Troy at that time to just hear, get some good advice. And they'd be always call Leonard Stokes. And, you know, when I see him out, we always talk something good about business and ball. And even Corie Blount coming around, you know, he doing his thing here in Cincinnati. So I think that's a blessing. I think, you know, that's definitely something that should happen year in, year out, where guys graduate, come back, play a little bit, give some advice, just talk, hang out sometimes. That's good too. And that's definitely a blessing to be able to come and hang with two guys from two totally different generations, but one thing brought us here, and that's the Bearcats.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's a respect factor for me. I respect any kid that goes through that program and try to represent UC basketball at the highest level that they possibly can. So it's always a good feeling to just be able to go and interact with like you say, it's different generations, but we're all Bearcats when you look at it. Even now, the difference between me, I get the opportunity to kind of chat with the older guys that was there before me, Oscar and George Wilson and those guys. So I got a full understanding of multiple generations when it comes to UC basketball. But, you know, even with Kevin and these young guys, man, I appreciate it. I love the fact that they really achieved something great last year. I mean, to go get 30 wins is phenomenal. So that respect goes on for them just as well as it did for the 62 team in my eyes. When you're able to just win at a high level, you should be acknowledged for it. So that's kind of where it is. It's a family, and we try to stay involved and keep our faces around this program, especially because so many of us are still here for one thing. You know, I'm looking at Kevin, the fact that he's from Cincinnati, and the fact that he's going to be coming back home. I mean, this guy should be recognized. He should be acknowledged as someone who's from Cincinnati and a former player. He should have the red carpet laid out to him. You know, because he really did a lot for the program last year, and that's what I would like to see happen, especially when it comes to former players. I started a scholarship this year where guys who happened to leave early and weren't able to get their degree, you know, I started a scholarship so those guys that want to come back will be able to at least assist them if the school's not going to pay for it. Well, we're going to step in and help them continue to.
How do they contact you? Where do you?
Well, it's through athletics.
Okay.
You know, it's through athletics. What's the athletic advisor?
Lucky?
Dr. Lucky.
Dr. Lucky.
Yeah,
Okay.
Dr. Lucky is the guy to contact to get access to those funds. But, you know, and it's just all about just trying to do what we can to just keep the program at a high level.
I mean, that's needed, and that's the thing that I tell people all the time, you know, when I sit in meetings is, you know, first of all, when you walk in some of these meetings, people are already judging because you're an athlete, so they look at you like, man, you know, what does this guy really know? And then you kind of go through that. But I tell people all the time, man, it's just that stuff is needed because, I mean, could you imagine being a doctor and someone tells you, hey, you got 7 years to be a doctor, and then after that, you got to hit the reset button and start everything over and figure out a new path in life.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I kind of talk to people about is, you know, when you're an athlete, you know, like Kevin right now, prime example, he's chasing his dream, what he's done his whole life, what he earned a scholarship for, and he's going to work at it. You know, D League, G League, wherever his path is going to take him, and then at some point, he's going to have to step out of that and get into the real world. And, you know, that's a culture shock in itself, you know, when you get thrown into that. So, you know, he may be 29, 30 years old at that point, you know, and those funds kind of can help make him make a better transition. So
that transition's challenging. I talked to my teammates quite a bit about it. A lot of guys I played with are still playing. And when they're back in Cincinnati, they'll call me and we'll catch up and grab dinner. And because I've been out of playing now for 4 years. And the first 2.5 years were tough, just because what I try to explain is I was, you know, studying, you know, tape, and I was shooting 500 shots a day, and I was studying pick and roll, and my goal from when I was 5 years old to when I was 24 was to be the best basketball player that I could possibly be, and I committed to that for as long as I could, and I gave it my all. So I don't look back with any regret. But while other people, you know, gave up their dreams of, you know, sports or athletics or something else at 14, they've been studying numbers now for 10 years, and I got an accountant that it's up on me by 10 years. Or if anywhere I was trying to go, I had people in that space. It was just different. It's not that I wasn't capable, but it just wasn't a comfort. My comfort was stepping on the court at 8 o'clock at night by myself and getting shots up.
Right.
And so there's like definitely like a humbleness factor for me that I felt like I had to take. And my advice to those guys is just understand you're coming from a place that might take you. It might take you a couple years. You're gonna figure it out.
Yeah.
But you got to stay with it. And I'm still kind of moving through that process and working through it. But it's tough when you're committed to something for so long, and then you get out and you try to find something that gives you that sense of importance.
No doubt.
It takes some time. So I've always been a proponent of trying to help. It's not really help. It's just assisting those guys from a mental standpoint. The difference, like it's not, it gets uncomfortable, and because you feel like you're a little bit, lost at times. And I'm like, it's not anything you did wrong, and you got plenty of things that you can do. It just you're gonna play a little bit of catch up for a couple years, and then you're gonna be fine and move through. So I like getting that dialogue with former athletes because it is important. There's very few other industries where you'll be done by mid 20s or 30s, early 30s, and then you have 30, 35 more years, and you want to feel that sense of importance.
Right.
So it's a good conversation. So
Definitely.
but aside from that, man, you guys got anything else? But before I let you get rolling, I really appreciate all of you guys coming down here. I hope this isn't the last time that we get you here. Kevin, best of luck with everything. I know that you're going through a contract process playing professionally. Whatever you end up doing, I know you'll do great. Obviously, if I can ever help or anyone here, we'd love to assist you. And Corey's first time I've been able to meet you. I've known about you since I was a kid. So honestly, it was an honor to have you here, and I appreciate you spending some time with us. And Leonard, I see you all the time. So
See you next Wednesday.
yeah, but Leonard, I'll see you next week. Thanks for bringing these guys on. That was fantastic stuff. Whenever you guys want to come on, feel free to hit me or Leonard up, and we'll definitely get you on. So thank you guys.
Perfect, man. I
Thanks
appreciate
for
you.
having me. Yep.